And this is my thoughts on Star Wars The Force Awakens with spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie, please stop the video and come back when you have. It opens letting us know that basically everything they fought for in the first six movies has been squandered. Um, the dark side still in charge. Empire is still around. Just they call themselves the First Order now. There's even a rebellion, which I just don't think there should have been. They go through this convoluted thing where like the Republic is funding a rebellion to fight the First Order or something. It just feels like they're just pandering to old fans with nostalgia. It's like, hey, there's a rebellion in this one too, just like the original trilogy. It's like just have the freaking Republic fight the Empire if you're going to go with this really lazy, super safe, dumbed down thing where you're just going to bring back the Empire again. Just evoke the original trilogy. At least give us a freaking republic. But anyway, and the original characters, again, they've squandered all the victories they had and everything they fought for. And so Leia is still leading the rebellion or the resistance or whatever it's called now. And so she's not a Jedi. She doesn't use the Force, which is kind of disappointing. I was kind of hoping to see a little bit of change in her character. Han has unfortunately reverted back to where we saw him in A New Hope, which is really pathetic, to be honest. Even with the trauma that they've been through, it's just really disappointing to see his character backslide like that. And just seems like, again, just complete pandering. It's like, ooh, this is the where you saw him in the first movie. Now he's back there. The scene with him and the mobsters he was dealing with was honestly skippable. It was just in there as a homage to the Jabba the Hutt scene. And they weren't very interesting looking gangsters, except for the thugs on that one guy that looked kind of cool. They had the red circle on them. They looked out of place in a Star Wars movie, but at least they looked cool. But the gangsters themselves were just very unforgettable. I mean, very forgettable. I'm sorry. I think there was probably a cameo in there of some famous actor who wanted to be in there, but I didn't care. Um, and why Solo dies at the end, he dies like a chump. I mean, I'm sorry. Yes, there have been people who have reasoned with people who went to the dark side in this series of movies. But I've never seen someone just walk up like that to someone who is clearly, you know, a mass murderer, clearly, deep into, him being on the dark side. I mean, Padme obviously, didn't know what to think with Anakin. He just turned and she didn't even know what to believe when she confronted him. It's a little different here. Han Solo should have been a little more prepared for this. And what really took me out of that moment was that it was just so, again, pandering and trying to parallel that first movie. It was so obvious they were recreating the Obi-Wan death scene. So I knew the second that they showed him and Kylo Ren on that walkway, I knew what was going to happen minutes before it was going to happen. It was just like I'm sitting there like, okay, Kylo, just kill your father and get it over with. Once they began that scene, I'm just like, yeah, get it over with. And it just seemed pathetic. It just seemed like a complete waste of Han Solo's character. That being said, I mean, I'm going to complain a lot here, but I want to preface this by saying that the actors are good in this movie, and they are much, much better than the material they were given. and Han Solo, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia, they made it work. The scenes where they were together were actually good. Um, I just wish they'd been given better material, and I'm going to say that about every single character I talk about here. Um, the new character. Oh, well, while I'm on the subject of old characters, let me talk about Luke, who wasn't really in the movie. Now, we're told that he has disappeared, and not much is said, so I'm going to hold judgment. I would like to think there's a good, legitimate reason. We're going to go and find out in the next movie for this. I don't think he gave up like Han Solo. I don't think he ran away and just let the world burn like Han did. Um, because that's not who Luke is. That's if they do that, then I don't know. He's a very different character than he was in those first three movies. But that scene at the end, the one only scene we get of Luke, is um, it's honestly it was terrible. I mean, it was just they really. I mean, I don't mind them ending with him and Ray looking at each other, but it was just so unintentionally hilarious the way they did it. It's just so melodramatic, and it just they never stopped. It was just weird. Just them standing there staring at each other. I mean, it was just. I just can't wait to see the memes that come out of that. I mean, there should be many memes making fun of that scene because it was not good. So I can't really say much about Mark Hamill because that's all he did. He just stood there and looked at Ray. Good job there, Mark. Hopefully he gets to do something good in the next movie, and hopefully it will be better use of the old characters. Um, Talking about the new characters, I feel like they were a lot better than the old ones. With the old ones, I'm just kind of dreading what they're going to do with them next. Like, they just seem like they're there to die and make way for these new characters. So I'm just not, I'll be actually happier when they're all out of the way. Um, the new ones are okay. They're likable enough. Poe just seems to be there because fans wanted Wedge Antilles to be a more major character, or actually a character at all. He just had a cameo in the original trilogy, um, and so Poe just seems like an attempt to make the X-wing leader into a character, um, which Wedge Antilles never got in the original trilogy. So he's all right, right? Poe, he has a couple funny lines. He probably could have left him out, but he's all right in there. Um, Finn and Ray are actually good. They're enjoyable characters. They had good chemistry together. The actor and actress, are great. That again, they are much better than the material they are given. Um, and I actually think the kind of love interest between them is probably what helped those characters. It helped me identify with them. The one thing with Ray is the ending, and this was another thing that took me out of that movie. The final battle, and this shouldn't happen on a final battle where you're just completely taken out of the experience, but her becoming an automatic Jedi, just like all of a sudden, boom, she is a Jedi Knight. She knows how to use a lightsaber just out of nowhere. Just made no sense. And again, a lot of this is just them recreating the original Star Wars and them trying to make it what fans wanted. And one of the things, yes, I will admit, in the original movie, I wanted to see Luke Skywalker fight Darth Vader. When I was a kid, I wanted to see him defeat Luke Skywalker. I mean, I wanted to see Darth Vader. defeated by Luke Skywalker at the end of the first movie. That was absence. Luke was the main character, Darth Vader was the villain. But as an adult, I now realize that would have made no sense whatsoever. Luke had no training. Luke barely knew how to use a freaking lightsaber. Same with Rey. What the heck was that at the end? I don't know. I'm assuming this will be explained in the next movie. Um, but again, it just completely took me out and just made and kind of makes me a little weary of the character. But other than that, she seemed very likable. And she is definitely beautiful. I mean, she is the best looking scavenger I've ever seen. I mean, she just is put together very well kept for a scavenger. But I guess you could say that about everybody in the movie. They're the most traumatized, beautiful people you've ever seen. Um, so let's see. Oh yeah, and that brings us to the villains. Kylo Ren. Um, that mask. Well, the design's not that inspired, and honestly, most of the design in this movie isn't all that inspired. And his voice is doesn't sound great. It's not as bad as Christian Bale's Batman voice or Bane's voice in what was it, The Dark Knight Rises. Um, and he honestly looked a little silly once he took off the helmet. All that hair. I don't know, but the actor again. I'm coming back to that. Was very good, much better than the material he was given. Um, he seemed it. I. It seemed kind of pathetic for him to be defeated at the end, though, and um, I'm assuming he's going to come back. They said that they wanted to complete his training. The master, Snoke, I think his name was going to complete his training. So I'm assuming Kylo Ren will come back as a super badass in the next movie and will probably defeat Rey, and she'll have to go through additional training. That's my assumption, at least. Um, but he just seemed like a loser, to be honest. To get your butt kicked by someone who doesn't even have any training. I mean, she's been using the Force all of 10 minutes, literally. Anyway, and yeah, I don't have any real feel on Master. I think his name was Snoke or Snook or I think it was Snook, Master Snooky. I don't know. I didn't have any real feel other than he had a silly name. So I don't know. I guess we'll see who he is in future movies. Um, and another thing, though, um, that kind of bothered me was that they're done. I didn't quite get why they were all after Luke. Luke Skywalker is your MacGuffin in the movie. Um, so why is that? In the context of that movie, we just don't see the Force play any important role in the major conflict in that movie, which is, the First Order is going to, basically destroy the Republic. They got the weapon that can destroy solar systems and all this stuff. And the Force just didn't have anything to do with that. It didn't have anything to do with the weapon. It didn't have anything to do with how they destroyed the weapon. There was no scene where someone using the Force, makes that shot to destroy it like they did in the original movie. I guess you just have to keep in mind the previous movies and, remember how potent the Force can be in the first 6 movies, and that's why they're afraid of Luke, I guess. But again, I guess we'll go into it later. Oh, and yeah, and Kylo Ren's departure to the dark side again. This just feels like they're evoking. Basically, it's what fans wanted Darth Vader to be. This angsty Jedi who, goes to the dark side and devastates his order. If you read the expanded universe stuff in the 90s, you've already sat through this. So I don't know. I really would have liked them to do something new and with this movie instead of just keep rehashing everything from the original Star Wars. Um, and rehash it better. It didn't have to be, they didn't have to spring the movie to a screeching halt um, to do it, to do these homages to the original Star Wars. They didn't have to bring it to a screeching halt to have, Han Solo be the wise old man who died. You know, they never even slowed down the pace of the movie to do that with Qui-Gon. The fight scene was just going, and then all of a sudden he died, and it's like, oh yeah, he's the wise old man, and he just died. You didn't you were too busy in the action to like sit there and be like, oh man, this is the Obi-Wan scene again. But here, I mean, they just brought the movie to a screeching halt to do the wise old man die scene. They brought the movie to a screeching halt to have Finn and Poe be Luke and Biggs of all the darn things. I mean, the chemistry between them was okay. I mean, like I said, the actors pulled it off, but it was just like really weird. It's like, hey, they're Luke and Biggs. What? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I hope the future movies innovate more and have less nostalgia weighting it down, and just make a little more sense, and look better. Uh, Give us some inspired alien designs. Give us inspired design work. Period. And I don't know. Was there something off with the stormtroopers? Um, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but for some reason, like their helmets seemed too big or something. They just seemed like they were out of proportion or something. They looked shorter than they should. I don't know. It was weird. I can't quite put my finger on it. But yeah, I know. This sounds like a lot of complaining. And there were a lot of things that just didn't sit well with me with the movie. But I will say overall, there were good fight scenes in there. There were good effects in there. There was good acting, good banter at times. And overall, it's an enjoyable movie. It's an okay movie. It's not bad. I'm glad it's not a bad movie. I just hope that future installments I enjoy more. Um, and I hope they don't do anything screwed up with Luke. I'm trying to I'm trying to approach this objectively, but I still have a soft spot in my heart for these characters. Even if I'm viewing this the same way I would expanded universe, I still want to see Mark Hamill give me one last good performance as Luke Skywalker. Give it to me next episode, Mr. Abrams. Give it to me. Come on. All right. Well, that's my thoughts on this Force Awakens. And let me know what yours are. I'm sure there are plenty of people with different opinions. Again, I think it seems like this movie is very popular. I think it's got a lot of good buzz behind it. I'm sure a lot of people are going to like it. It's just not my cup of tea. All right. So that's it. And may the force be with you always.